Interesting things are going on in the world of media in the sense that not only is the technology changing very rapidly, but that kids in particular are what we call early adopters. They figure out how to do text messaging and IMing long before any their parents did, certainly, but they also take them in directions that even the designers didn't imagine. And so as more technological capabilities arise, they are combining and using and applying these technologies in ways that we can't even imagine, which of course is yet another reason why we need to build into their media use a sense of taking care of themselves, a sense of knowing what is helping them, what is harming them, and what is risky and what is not. We don't know what the future holds. We can speculate and we can anticipate, but we can also know that no matter what we speculate or anticipate, not only will it be partially wrong, but that folks, particularly kids, will find ways to go far beyond what we ever imagined. So I think that we need to be forward-looking in the sense of being very open-minded to what's going to happen, but also forward-looking in the sense that we need to build into the users the protective mechanisms, just as we do when from day one we have kids put on seatbelts in the car. You know, there's never any other way to do it. And it should be that way with using media as well. Parents are extremely important, probably the most important role for helping kids learn to use media safely. And the first thing that they do is they model behavior. So the way you use media will affect the way your kids use media. The media you use will affect your kids, not only because they're watching it with you and experiencing it, but also they will learn from you how to use media. You know, do you walk in the house, flip on the TV and have it run the whole time, or do you wait all week to see one show that you really like, sit down together with other people and enjoy it as a social event? And there are all variations in between. So the first thing that parents can do is think about their own media use and share what they love about media with their kids. Show them great movies that they love. Play for them wonderful music. And trade it off with their kids. Listen to what their kids are listening to too. Watch what their kids are watching too. As scary as that sounds and as upsetting as it sounds, and it will be because, frankly, rock and roll lives on the fact that the parents hate it. And that's part of the developmental task of adolescence is to individuate and differentiate themselves from their parents. So if their parents loved all the music they listened to, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun and it wouldn't be nearly as attractive. But what that doesn't mean is that parents should just shut it off. Parents should hear it and listen to it and express what they like or don't like about it, share what they like or don't like, and be able to talk about things like misogynistic lyrics or violent lyrics, hateful, racist, sexist lyrics, and think it through with the kids. In other words, help them discover for themselves how they feel about it instead of telling them how to feel about it. So I think that that's ultimately what parents do best is giving them a scaffolding and a structure for their media use into the future. Because media and their use have historically been kind of a values-driven issue. In other words, for the most part, policymakers are thinking in terms of immoral and wrong things. The first thing that we in our work at the Center on Media and Child Health are trying to do is to reframe the issue for the public, including the policymakers, as a public health issue. The problem with values is that no one agrees on values. We all have slightly different values, and we will argue till the end of time, and we will walk out of that argument with exactly the same values we walked in with. But we now have a large and growing body of research evidence that shows that there are very measurable, consistent health outcomes of concern, ranging from obesity to anxiety to violent behavior to sexual risk behavior to eating disorder behavior. And if you can reframe this issue as public health, you can take all those people who disagree on values and get them all to agree. If this puts kids at greater risk of sickness, illness, and death, we need to change this. So that's the first thing we're trying to do. The second thing is that I genuinely do not believe that restricting through legislation either the production or sale of media is either effective or ultimately will change what's going on. Prohibition taught us that restricting things doesn't work. What it does is it makes them out of control. So I think that what we can learn from that is that we need to use our legislative powers to do a couple of things. One is that we can ask producers and distributors of media to be more socially responsible. We can ask them for the equivalent of airbags and seatbelts in their products. We can also educate all of us in the ways that these media change us. And we can invest in the kind of research that we do to learn more about this, because to date, there's still not dedicated federal health research dollars to look at the effects of media on our lives, as powerful as it is. And I would argue that in the information age, as we are said to be, it is arguably the most powerful environmental health influence that we have, in that it affects people of all socioeconomic statuses. It affects people around the world in really profound ways that, at least in our population of kids and adolescents, are responsible for the leading causes of death and morbidity. And media has been linked with each of them. So we need to really change public consciousness to be looking at media as a health issue, and invest in it as a society in the research, education, and interventions necessary to deal with it as such.